can't be flip about leaving the house because a lot of me is in this house too. Having children here and raising the children, knowing every crook and cranny. I never realized how well I know this house. I know where every cobweb occurs.
I thought I'd stay here forever. I know I never really thought about it a lot, but I saw no reason not to stay here.
My family has been centered around my family farm and this farmhouse for the last 70 years. My first-generation great-grandparents built the house and established the farm in 1946, and in the same year my grandfather was born in this small garage on the property. For the next 70 years of his life, he'd live on this farm, leaving only for college and a brief military stint in Germany. He permanently left his childhood home for the first time last year when he and my grandmother moved into town. This departure from the hub of my family's history made me wonder, what's the importance of a house and land, and how do rural families cope with physically leaving their attachments behind for a life in town?
Really fortunate. There's very few people that I know that live in the place they were born, live in one spot their whole life. It's pretty rare.
It is rare, especially because, according to Dr. Richard Edwards from the Center of Great Plains Studies, that experience typically goes along with a farming life. The number of farms in America has decreased significantly over the years, which goes hand in hand with the diminishing rural population. The light green counties on this map have experienced population decrease for the last 20 years, and the dark green, urban counties, like Douglas and Lancaster, have grown.
Being here on a farm was like being back a generation or two. I think as soon as you realize how rare it is, that does make you really sad to lose it.
My mom and her brothers were raised on this farm, and even now, as adults who decided not to return to the farm, they recognize its role in their memories and lives.
The barn had carvings, like each of Dad and his brothers carved their names in it, which we then later did as well, here in the wood in the same way. So it was very clear that it was something that was not just ours. I ran away from the farm a little, like I think all three of us older kids did. It didn't take too long to figure out that it wasn't the farming, it wasn't the rural. It's just, some of those pieces were core to who I am, and they continue to be. They continue to be core to what I do.
I think I was just in college still, and I was planning to not come back. Mm-hmm. And I remember having this realization that I don't live here anymore. Mm-hmm. I grew up here, but I don't live here. This isn't my place anymore.
Like every time I would drive home, wherever I was coming from, when I was on Highway 12, heading to this farm, I would just be overwhelmed with the beauty of this region. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. Mm-hmm. Why would anybody live anyplace else? I think it's really valuable when we know, at least we know people whose lives are connected to the land, where you're paying attention to the weather because it matters beyond, do I need to bring a coat on Tuesday? You're surrounded by people growing things. There's a different feeling than if it's all cement. It's a really intangible thing, I think.
The idea that Mom and Dad would be here, living here, in this place, meant it wasn't the same.
Yeah. The idea that this would become home for me too. And it's not quite as much as this one is yet.
Understand that home is where the family is, and you make that place home. It's who the people are and not necessarily where the place